brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company.
And as we shift focus to the tech space, will confidence in MultiChoice be restored? The group is fighting headwinds that have battered the company as its satellite business declines. In a 3 billion rand gamble, the pay TV operator is now betting on online streaming and video on-demand services becoming its bread and butter. Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza joins us with more detail. Thank you so much for your time, Mudiwa. Just paint a picture for us of MultiChoice's evolution throughout the years and really also the necessity behind it.
So you have a business that has been premised on satellite, for as long as we've known them. They were pioneer in the space on the African continent. Famous story of Koos Becker, going overseas, seeing satellite TV and saying this is something that needs to come to Africa, starting Mnet, and then over the years we have this thing called MultiChoice. And
that was a child of open time.
Funny enough, that was me as well. 5 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the time. Every afternoon.
Yeah.
So you have that, but now you have shifting technologies. But at the same time, I remember when we were writing, I said that right now, MultiChoice is facing a cocktail of headwinds. And when we spoke to the CEO of MultiChoice last week, it's something that he said to us, and it's something that I'm sure he even said it, on this platform, and they wrote it in their earnings release as well, to say this is one of the toughest periods that they have faced in almost 4 decades. That's how they have characterized this moment that we're in, because over the last couple of years we had always been saying, oh no, DSTV is its lunch is going to be eaten by the streamers, all of that stuff. You've got that piece. But at the same time, you've got one of the biggest cost of living crises that we've seen in a really long time, especially, after COVID and, coming into these years right now, where your interest rates, though they've started turning, they're still quite elevated. You've got inflation that's still, fighting all of us. So your entertainment budget becomes one of the easy places to cut. Right? So you're either getting rid of DSTV completely, or you are downgrading, your packages. And these are all the things that MultiChoice is facing. Let's not even forget, the issues that they face when it comes to currency devaluations in places, like Nigeria and all of that. So they just find themselves in a very, very tough place. I think just the last thing I would note is that right now, if we look at their current, we put a nice graph in our article to say that if you look at where they are right now, they're sitting at roughly 19.3 million customers, right? Which is a level we last saw at around this time in 2020, right? And their peak was actually 23.5, which was
so it
some
speaks
time
volumes if we're now back at 2020 levels.
Yeah.
Mudiwa, you talk about the other streaming giants that are looking at Africa with this eye-watering zeal and that are trying to eat MultiChoice's lunch. But I mean, at the same time, this is Africa is MultiChoice's home turf.
Yeah.
Would you say now that it's a case of they failed to navigate things that they should have been able to navigate in the home turf, or it's a case of these headwinds were just too uncontrollable, too out of their control for them to navigate in a manageable way?
When you're studying, what some people call tipping points, right? It's often a combination of factors as opposed to the one thing.
Okay.
People have always looked at, the streaming. But even with all the money that Netflix has spent, Amazon has spent, and even Disney, has been spending in terms of streaming and local content on the African continent, MultiChoice has dominated even in that space.
So they still have an upper hand?
Yeah, right. Depending on the numbers that you look at, Showmax is has more customers than what Netflix does. Amazon has actually called it quits, for South Africa a couple of months ago, right? So you have that particular factor. But when it comes to this loss of subscribers, I would say it's the combination of all the factors, that we're dealing with.
Okay.
And then I think just the last thing I would, mention there is that local content is great, but I think one of the key things that will help them quite a bit will be finding local content that can travel. It's one thing to have local content that is good for us here, but local content that can travel. And it's one of the reasons why, to this day, I do not know why they stopped offering the diaspora version of Showmax, because that's actually an offering that they suspended a couple of months back. Right? They stopped Showmax Pro and they stopped the diaspora offering. So it means if you right now get onto an aeroplane and fly to the US and you're an active subscriber, you can't access, right? But that is such great content that think about how many Africans live in the diaspora that are looking for their own stories. But
and we've even seen the popularity of local content, even on Netflix. You're right, it must actually travel. Mudiwa, just talking about Showmax, talk to me about the kind of investments that we have seen there, but also the return potential.
Return potential, we're not sure yet when we're going to actually see that. Over the last, let's call it 2 years, before Canal Plus came actually into the market trying to buy up MultiChoice, the share price was actually trading quite low, in the 70s. In fact, that's actually where it created around this time last year, right? And a lot of it was because of the Showmax investment. The market wasn't necessarily happy with all the money that was going spent into Showmax. And in terms of returns, that's a return profile over 3, maybe 5 years. It's not something that's you're gonna see now. The only nice thing about it is that the 3 billion that we're talking about, it's not them alone, right? They take care of roughly 70% of that amount of money, because the expenses on Showmax are in line with their ownership of the platform. 70% MultiChoice, and then the other 30% is with NBC Universal, which is now the technology partner. So the same platform that Peacock uses is the same platform that Showmax actually uses now. So at least you've got that sharing. So in tech, you unfortunately have to plow a lot of money.
That's the thing. And then I want to ask then, do they then not need Canal Plus? Because that's for you to move, you need capital. You need deep pockets.
Well,
how far can they go without those?
Well, if you were to talk to Calvo, I suspect, right, I'm not his spokesperson, but I suspect, based on what he said to us last week, that he would say that they do have enough liquidity on hand. He actually said to us that they are in a good cash position right now, because despite all the stuff that's going on, they've got 10 billion rand, that they are sitting on, to move forward. So in terms of financial muscle, let's also not forget this is a 40, 45, maybe 50 billion rand company, right? So they can make the type of investment that no other player in South Africa, can. So at least they've got that. The biggest issue is, does the market trust that they're going to get their money back and then some? And then the second piece is, the same success that they found on satellite, can we be guaranteed that they will more or less have the same type of success when it comes to streaming? I think they can, especially if they can find a way to give people one subscription. Because that's the thing that people don't like, is the fact that, if you want to watch, back in the day, it was the House of Cards, Money Heist, all of these shows. If you wanted those, Netflix. If you want to watch House of Dragon, all of that stuff, HBO. But now at least, MultiChoice is taking steps to bring all of this content onto that one platform. If you want HBO content on streaming, you don't have to subscribe for Max. You can just subscribe for Showmax. There is a section just for HBO. So over time, if they can get to one subscription, you pay that one price, whatever that price is.
And that's it.
And you have access to all your Netflix, your Amazon, your Disney. Then I think they might come back. Because if you think about it, that's what DSTV is, right? DSTV is all of these different pieces of content on one decoder, one platform. So let's see if they can do the same for
All right. We will definitely keep a very close eye on these developments, especially as we see the developments in the Canal Plus potential deal. Thank you so much, Mudiwa, for your time and for your insights. That was a Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza.
Brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company.